All right, so it's recording. Sorry.
Okay, well, I'm just waiting for one more person. Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. Hello and happy Women's History Month. Right. This is the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. It is now 7:06 p.m. and my name is Christine Culpepper and I'm the chair.
I'm Cynthia Rodriguez, co-chair.
Susan Perez, committee member. Thank you.
Wendy Hewlett Betts, committee member.
You want to introduce yourself?
Need I?
We have some board, I think we have some members on online. We'll go to Malcolm.
Malcolm Gray, not the chair. I'm the committee member.
Who else is on? Naomi. Naomi's not on. Okay.
Naomi.
It's okay. Anybody else want to say hi before we move on?
I'm here, guys. Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, sorry. Hi, guys. What's going on? How are you? I'm Naomi Pemberton. I am also a committee member.
Thank you all for being here. Diana, we see you. And thank everybody for being here in person today.
Hi, everybody.
We don't have a quorum today, so, but we do have three fabulous guests with us this evening. We're waiting for one person to sign on and one other person to join us in person. But who we do have here, was already online and signed on, is one of our guest speakers. Her name is, and I'm probably going to screw it up, so I, apologize ahead of time. I'm going to give it my best shot. Tell me if I do it right or if I get it wrong. Camelia Tepeles? Tepeles? No?
Almost. Close. Nice try. Yes, my name is Camelia Tepelus. Thank you so much, Christine. And yeah, go ahead.
Camelia. I love the name, and so it sounds, when me and Cindy were discussing this earlier, we were like, is that a Greek name?
Close again. It's a Romanian name, but Romanian is a language of Latin origin. It's very similar in structure with Italian, French, and Spanish. And actually, the name is from, that flower? It's a camellia flower. Anyway, it's a flower. Yeah, Chanel had like a whole thing with the camellias, and actually they are in bloom right now. That guy, Alex Calamia on News 12, I became obsessed with him. It's like a weather guy, but he's into gardening, so he had like a whole series on it. Anyway, it's a flower. But yes, my name is Camellia, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm very happy to see everybody in this first day of spring. So thank you for having me, and yeah, I don't know, feel free to ask me anything.
No, thank you for being here. You are, an amazing woman, and immediately when we thought about what the theme of this evening would be, we knew that, we wanted to highlight some fabulous women in the community doing work. Like yourself. And I was looking at a bio that I got offline. And I was just like so impressed with some of, your background, your history, all of the things that you did prior. And I'm just thinking to myself, how does Dr. Tepelus, right? With a PhD, and all these wonderful, experiences, become the director of the Morris Park bid. So give us that history. Tell us how that happened.
Sure. Yeah. And why not? Why shouldn't the doctor with a PhD be the director of the Morris Park bid? Morris Park deserves the best. No, all of the Bronx deserve the best. Yeah, each and every neighborhood, from the smallest, from the poorest to the richest, deserves the best. That's where I'm coming from. Yeah, but to go back to the story. I came to this country as an immigrant 20 years ago with my job. And back then I was working out of Spain for the World Tourism Organization, and I was having this amazing job sort of traveling all over the world, working on human rights issues. And somehow the job moved to New York. And from the moment I landed here, I was like, I found my home. I finally found my home. And I lived before in like 4 other countries. So believe me, when you feel it, you know it. And first I worked for a continuation of my job in the sort of human rights field out of Brooklyn for the first sort of 12 years or so. And then I wanted to travel less and to stay more locally based. So then I took a job with, I wanted also to get involved in sort of local administration. And I had a job with SBS, the New York City Department of Small Business Services first. And then from that job, the opportunity came up for when Morris Park Bid was just forming they were looking for an executive director, so I applied to that job and I took it. I live on the west side of the Bronx in Spuyten-Duyville, so I cross the Bronx every single day. And so I kind of came back from this like international travel all over the world and looking at like kind of global issues to more local and even micro local, right, at the moment. And I enjoy very much sort of the transition. I feel like I have a lot of purpose in my job. I see myself, no, I mean, as a bid director, okay, business improvement district, right? Like one would think primarily businesses, but I very much see the bid as a sort of an organization that is supposed to serve the community. I have 2 children myself, so I feel very invested both as a parent and as a citizen kind of in what we do. And yeah, I enjoy it very much. Having said all that, I must say, like working in poor countries and all that, this is one of the hardest jobs that I had in my life. So I feel and I feel honestly, like you said, what is a doctor doing, right? Like PhD, no PhD, like doesn't matter. Again, I feel like the Bronx deserves the best. This is where I'm boiling down to, and no amount of degrees is enough because it's more than one person all the time, and it's more like building the team and building the community together. So this is why I'm.
Camila, one of the things that you said, and earlier we spoke, and I did not know this, that there was no bid prior and there was no other director, right? Like, you are the first, right?
Right.
Bid director. So
Yeah, so Maurice, Maurice, I'm sorry, you didn't even get to ask me, but just to give a little bit of background, yeah, it's very hard to form a bid because a bid is not a regular 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's an organization that's formed, each bid is formed by a local law passed by the city council. And to get to that point, it's a very comprehensive process because actually the city has to convince individual property owners to pay more taxes for the bid to be created, for a pool of money to be created, for a budget to be created, for the bid to fund its additional services. So, and particularly Morris Park, it was, I think it was one of the bids that took the longest to create, about 6 years. So it was a long pregnancy, to put it that way, a long gestation before the bid got formed. So, and I was sort of the first director, and I started from the point where like you have an office but it looks like a construction site, you have no table, you have to bring your folding chair from your kitchen, like that sort of thing, your paper clips from home, like that sort of thing to set up. But also I look at it also as an opportunity, like you get to work with the board to kind of shape the vision and learn how things are being done at local level and learn the challenges and kind of build along the way. So now we have a 5-year-old organization. I'm celebrating in April my 5th year at the Morris Park Bid.
well, congratulations. So, I don't know if anybody has any other questions. I chose it. Go ahead, Wendy.
So with the bid, and being to improve the district, how is that going so far? Especially, with Morris Park and the development, improvement of bringing new businesses, different types of businesses within the community, because as a resident of the surrounding area for the past 45 years, yeah, a lot hasn't changed. So how can we get that to change? Because, you know, there are a lot of different restaurants that I would love to see up here. To just based on the culture that we have here. And we don't have that. So how can we get that going?
Right. I mean, in 5 years, a lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed. So let me focus on the lot that has changed. Back in 2019, when the bid started, I would say the issue that changed the most and in the most visible way is that I would say is a expansion of the Arabic speaking community, Yemenis, non-Yemenis, a big wave of like migration and new businesses that are owned by Yemeni and Middle Eastern MENA like residents, right? New residents to the neighborhood. It used to be that only 2 blocks when I started, sort of between Victor Union and Wine Place Road were kind of the quote unquote Little Yemen. And now you see, now 5 years later, I mean, there are businesses opening every day, you know, east of Bronxdale that are Yemeni owned. And it's very, very clear that the community keeps changing in that direction. Morris Park was very stable as a commercial corridor. The vacancy rate, I think when I started, was like 12%, which was considered at the border of healthy. Then COVID came, and amazingly, we are one of the corridors that performed the best during COVID, because a lot of people that were traveling to Midtown Manhattan or other areas actually were staying local because everybody was stuck in their houses and buying lunch, you know, on Morris Park Avenue. And my vacancy rate went lower. And now I think I'm at my lowest vacancy rate. I'm somewhere around 6.8%. We were inspected by the New York City Controller's Office and New York City Planning. And after COVID, they were like, Morris Park Avenue, quote unquote, shockingly healthy, because any vacancy that would occur, and even right now, I have 5 people fighting for it instantly. So from that point of view, this indicates a sign that there is vibrancy on Morris Park Avenue. There is interest. No vacancy stays vacant for too long. And in terms of how it changed how the community changed, right? And you have businesses that find their demand, or businesses that no longer find their demand and they move elsewhere. So it's very, I would say, very tightly linked with the local community surrounding it, because Morris Park Avenue is not a corridor that is like, you know, attracting international tourism. No, it's a corridor that is local, that serves the neighborhood. So how the neighborhood is, this is the type of businesses that open and persist. So this is the story. I don't know how to say. I'm a foodie. I hear you with the restaurants and everything. I mean, it used to be all one type of cuisine. Now you have multiple, right? You have the Italians, you have the Albanians, you have the Colombian restaurants, you have the Spanish restaurant, the you know, Mexican, whatever it is. But you see it keeping moving, and I think this is kind of where we are, and it's a good thing versus other neighborhoods that see spaces like empty or not having interested businesses and all that. One thing, because let me go straight to the point, illegal smoke shops. Don't think I'm in any denial here, right? But absolutely not. Today, even today, like we reach out to the property owners telling them, look, there is enforcement actions taking place. Like, watch out, check your lease with your tenant. If your tenant, you have the suspicion of your tenant conducting illegal operations, you landlord, you will get a fine. So no, right? Like anyways, but this is a phenomenon that you see all over the city. Yeah,
that's a good question, you know, there that I have about that, right? So are we saying that the landlords are getting
fines? Yes.
warned about, you know, the
Not
business?
warned, they're getting tickets. Christine, $5,
Yeah.
$10, $20,000 worth of tickets. So then the landlords take action. They say, I want to evict this guy because I don't
So
want.
are they mandated to start like eviction process, an eviction process? or
They
do
are
they
not
know that they're-
mandated, but they are motivated to evict
Gotcha.
commercial tenants that do not follow the law. If I'm the landlord, do I want to get a ticket of $5,000 from the city? And then the range of the tickets, we have landlords now, I mean, not on Morris Park Avenue, but we, or know of other landlords on East Tremont, $25,000. Fine. Because they were warned and warned and warned, and the city inspected. So then the
So it's
landlord is
motivation.
motivated to take to court the business operator and evict them.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's happening. Yeah,
Talking about the Morris Park corridor, right? We know that there's a lot of development coming to our area, right? We're talking about the Metro North. We're also talking about the city of Yes. Can you talk to us a little bit, explain a little bit about, what is going to happen or what are the proposals with the city of Yes and Morris Park corridor?
yeah. So, there's like the Morris Park corridor is here, and the future Metro North Station is kind of here. So you see, there's like a gap in between, and
Right.
this is kind of, I don't know, it's a challenge. Yeah, I mean, city of Yes, I would say, how to say, the city learned a lot from COVID. During COVID, a lot of our economy changed. People are much more likely to shop on Amazon and have their food delivered, which food delivers means like little delivery guys, on bikes or whatever. So people got used to a level of convenience that we just weren't thinking about it before. Look at us meeting here on Zoom. You see what I'm saying? Before it used to be we'd all get together in a room. So COVID
Right.
was in a lot of ways transformative. In an unpredictable, maybe even unintended way. So I think the city, this city of Yes kind of threefold initiative, it was city of Yes for carbon neutrality that passed last year. Now it was city of Yes for economic development that is still being in the process. It just passed, I think, the planning commission, and it has to go to city council. And in the pipeline is city of Yes for housing opportunity. So all these three things, are part of a very comprehensive effort that the city undertakes in order to modernize itself and learn from the COVID lessons, and also cope with the reality of some social issues that we see, like the migrants and all these things, and kind of try to improve the system overall, right? Now going back to our local Morris Park wider area, in parallel with all the city of Yeses, yes, there is the whole Metro North 4 new stations. So these things are kind of overlap, and are overlapping, and I see how it's maybe confusing for the community to even understand what's going on, especially Morris Park. I mean, this area is one of the major job creation centers in the Bronx, if not in the city. The impact of all of this will be significant, but it will not be anything sort of overnight, say. And of course, the city wants to strengthen the issue of jobs, the issue of housing or lack of thereof, and also wants to strengthen the role of Morris Park and all the large medical institutions all around it, right? So yes, there will be a station. Let me speak more specifically Morris Park. Yes, there will be a Metro North station. It will be located at the end of Morris Park Avenue, actually technically on Bassett now, right? Like behind the Starbucks, that Starbucks sort of thing. There will be a new plaza that raises for me a lot of concern because, and this is kind of my main point to city planning and to all these people on the station, who will manage this plaza. This plaza is called Morris Park Plaza. It will be an entrance, a new gate into the Morris Park commercial corridor. I want it to be beautiful. Please tell me who's in charge. Nobody knows at the moment.
Right.
And I'm concerned because I don't want it to become a plaza like like Fordham Plaza, unmanaged by no one, with a lot of like with dirt, nobody who's cleaning it. You know, where are the planters? All that thing? It's an entrance gate into my corridor. And this is again where for the Morris Park, this is where the concern is. But overall, in a larger picture of things, of course, we see the rezoning happening on Eastchester Tremont corridor. In the long term, that will become a significant corridor. It already is, thanks to the large institutions, but there will be a lot of development. From the point of view of businesses, they are like, the more customers, the better. So, but in the same time, again, we have to be like honest and fair with the community also, and be receptive and listen to the community concerns, in the sense of um what will be the infrastructure needs that will also be addressed along with the redevelopment, right? School, I like what people say, schools, middle schools, how will the traffic be impacted, all these other things. But overall, I think for East Bronx, this whole combination of City of Yes, Metro North, it's something that will definitely elevate, improve, enhance property values, and just overall elevate East Bronx as a very important strategic area, an area of opportunity for the city of New York. And just want to close this on a positive note on that. How amazing was that that lady made it so that at Albert Einstein there will be
Oh
no
my gosh.
tuition for people.
Yes.
How
Oh,
extraordinary is this? The
Yes.
opportunities for people to have medical degrees in the future. You know, right
That-
here
that
in
was-
Morris Park, it's extraordinary.
amazing.
So
Absolutely unheard of,
so
right?
this is kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
Very exciting stuff going
I
on.
have a quick question.
Sure. So Camelia, what are your boundaries with the Morris Park bid? Like,
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
does it-
So-
yeah.
Yeah. So as bids, we are not, again, we are, how to say, always when I'm speaking strictly within the confines of my boundaries being decided by law and by the people who actually contribute from their taxes to the bid, right? And they are Morris Park Avenue between Unionport Amethyst to the west and Williamsbridge Road to the east. So it's about 22 blocks. On the side streets, it's kind of varies, but it's a significant part of Morris Park, and it's also part of sort of very strong sentimental and historic value to many people. And I sometimes I'm getting calls, you know, from people on Williamsbridge Road or on White Plains Road, and they are like, why don't we have holiday lights? Why don't we have, you know, why are the sidewalks dirty? And I'm just like lifting my shoulders. I wish I could help, but my boundaries stop there. So I'm just encouraging sort of everyone to be open and supportive of bids formation, which, as I said, it's a process that's super hard as it is. But if not bids of, you know, merchants association, any type of sort of businesses, initiatives of businesses working together to improve the community in cleanliness and quality of life and liaising with PD and all these things, that because people and elected officials tend to listen to businesses. So yeah,
Yeah.
but for Morris Park bid, my day-to-day business is between Unionport and Williamsbridge Road.
Camila, I know that we talked a little earlier and you know, we were talking about the city of Yes a little bit. And one of the questions I had, and I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more on this. On the city of Yes, is there a component there to have like, you know, MWBEs, minority women business, you know, enterprises, you know, goals, like, you know,
Right.
for businesses coming to the corridor?
Right. I don't think that, how to say, so the city has both city and state actually have dedicated programs to support certification, and it's like a specific designation, right? Like a minority and women owned businesses, you have to go through a process to obtain this certification. And there are goals in terms of how the city and state spends its own money. So we as a bid, like we have contracts with the city, and some of the contracts are like you have to spend 30% of this budget on minority and women owned businesses. I mean, I don't have contracts large enough for this to be a very gigantic part, but even for my own contracts, like even if I don't have these specific conditions, like I try my best out of my own sheer conviction to have minority and women owned businesses as my own contractors. Like my bookkeeper is a minority and women owned business. My auditor is a minority owned business. So you see what I'm saying? What I can do within the confines of like my own operations. I don't think that the city of Yes itself contributes to this directly, except in an indirect way. Meaning, if the city of Yes for economic development makes it easier for certain small scale, micro scale businesses, you know, I'm a woman, I want to develop, I don't know, a sewing or whatever, a tailoring business out of my own home or in a residential context, and the city of Yes allows me to do that. Implicitly, it will help minority and women-owned businesses set up and prosper, right? So in that sense, it's an indirect way, but I think it will be significant, particularly in neighborhoods that have a lot of ethnic diversity, and where, you know, people wouldn't necessarily go on Morris Park Avenue and rent a commercial space, right? But if I am at the ground level of a building in my apartment and I can sustain myself and my family out of my you know, clothes tailoring by hand business, wonderful, right? But so I think that in that sense there is opportunity there, but then everything else, again, electeds, city council and state can do to pressure more in the large contracts for certain percentages to be specifically assigned to minority and women owned businesses. I think that would be great. But in just to be absolutely real, these targets, I think they don't get reached even as we speak.
Thank you so much, Camila. I know I saw Malcolm's hand go up. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, but Malcolm, did you want to say something?
Not really, but I'll chime in anyway. One, Camelia, I think you do such great work. Like for me, you're a role model. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
No problem. But just to piggyback off of the minority women's, and I know the city has the certification, in which, you know, if you are a minority of women, you know, and you own a small business, you can register yourself into the city.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, I guess, like top, like prioritized for like certain contracts and projects. So I think that would be a great initiative for the DEI committee to partner with Morris Park Bid, to try and, you know, get more people signed up in our communities for that sort of certification, because it goes a long way. I remember when I went to a conference, and they were speaking about how those certifications is helping to lead the way for projects like the new stadium that's being built over in Buffalo, New York. You know, you can only imagine, like, you know, the development that we're having here. Such certifications will also go a long way in closing, you know, not only just the racial wealth gaps, but also the wealth gaps between genders also. So, you know, I think that would be a phenomenal project for us to work on one day.
Yeah, I think in the long run, Malcolm, to the extent, I mean, again, people have like the energy and the drive to do this. I think it would be wonderful to like even open to have the list. You know what I mean? Or in CB11, the existing list of women and minority owned companies. And I'll just give you one example how to say, like, just in my small scale sort of situation, right? Like I had to redo like the office basement, right, when I said like 2 years ago, whatever it was, and you know, and this like guy, I mean, you know, minority, right, you know, came and he was like, okay, I'm a contractor, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, you know, I hired him, did a good job. A couple of months later, he came to me saying, hey, I am bidding on an MTA contract on a much large. So this was like for me like a $2,000 job, like nothing, right? And he's like, can you give me a reference? Of course I can give you a reference, but more than that, I encourage you to register as a minority owned business. And he did it. And then guess what? 6 months later, MTA is calling me to double check his, you see what I'm saying? It feels just so good to be able to do this. It feels amazing. So yeah, there are processes and procedures and on doing this, and small things lead to big things. Never underestimate. You see what I'm saying? And all of us in our like respective jobs, the smallest action you will take will have a consequence. So yeah, I encourage, and I'm very happy that CB11 is looking at this, and you guys having this committee and just being sort of receptive, you know, to this conversation, which is not always easy in CB11. So I really appreciate all you guys what you do. Yeah.
Well, Camelia, I know that Malcolm said that you were one of his role models. Final question for the evening: who's your role model?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I don't know, Christine. I have to put a bunch of people together. And I really don't want to say a name. I would just say that kind of just like a person, right? Like in my life, I had help from like the most unexpected places, from people of that I like seeing somebody I would have never thought I have anything in common with them, and just by being open to listening, yeah, I got help. And yeah, so I don't know, I mean, one of my you will not know the name. It's a very, it's an senior official at SBS. His name is Fred Leopold Hook. He's one of the people that helped me most in my current position by educating me on governance, on the importance of ethics and professional sticking to professional standards, on saying no when you have to say no, on questioning things that you suspect are questionable, and putting things in writing when you're uncomfortable with some things, and bringing it to a committee instead of acting on your own, because in the context of committees, people are less likely to do the wrong thing, if you see what I mean. And just I don't know, sometimes you have to stick to your guns, honestly, and just look yourself in the mirror and saying the things that you need to that you feel is the right thing to be said in that context. So I don't know if I answered, but I tried my best.
Yes, you did. No, you did. And you know, listen, we appreciate you so much, and we see you as a role model for us. I know that myself and Cynthia, and we have talked about how great you are and how fearless you are sometimes. And we appreciate you very much, and I hope you had a great time being with us today. We'd like for you to stick around and meet some of the other wonderful guests that we have, but if you have to go, we totally understand.
Thank
but
you so
before
much.
we go, Sabrina's back. Does anybody want to ask one final question? No? All right. So I just want to say thank you again. We're gonna move on next to our.
Thank you for all you do, Camelia, and we enjoy.
I appreciate you guys, and
working with you day in and day out.
Our next
exactly
guest.
feeling exactly the same, and good luck with you with everything, and stay strong. Nice.
Thank you. Our next guest is someone that I met through the wonderful work that this woman here, this other fabulous woman who just joined us, she's been gone for a little while. I'm glad to see your beautiful face.
Oh my gosh, I have missed everyone. So thank you. I'm happy to be back.
So we got to meet Latanya Vaughn, who is the owner of Bronx Bound Books. Hello, Latanya.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We are great. And the way that we met was during the Juneteenth event, right? And I think it was Malcolm who connected us
Yes.
to you. Is that correct, Malcolm?
Yep.
Yes, it is. Latanya she's key for me. So yes.
So it's Latanya Devon. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. Latanya, forgive me,
That's
please.
okay.
And I was reading it also, looking for a little information on your background and how you started. And I'm not going to give it away because I know that You put together a little something for us. Do you want us, do you want to, go through that first and then ask questions? How do you want to do that?
It's kind of long what I put together. We can just, skim through it while I'm talking, I guess.
Yeah, it's up to you. You
and
let
don't
us
put-
know what you want us to do.
Okay, you could start it.
No, I had downloaded it. Where is it?
Hold on a second. We have our challenges.
It's okay.
Shoot. Hold on. Should I saved it over here? Shoot. Hold on. Should I saved it over here? Oh. What's today's
That's
date?
it.
This one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so that's that. And wait, now how do I do it? Share it there.
There it is, yeah.
Where,
That's
did
not-
oh, okay. And, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
So thank you again, Latanya, for being with us. I reached out to Latanya. I thought, wow, I saw that recently you've been getting a lot of publicity, right? You had a major news source do a story on you and Bronx Bound Books.
Yes. So my name is Latanya Devon, and I'm the founder of Bronx Bound Books. Bronx Bound Books is a mobile bookstore. I converted a bus into a bookstore that travels in the borough of the Bronx and outside of Bronx times, making book ownership accessible to everyone in our borough. Had a bookstore that closed on us and left us without a bookstore for about 3 years. And instead of complaining about us not having a bookstore, I decided to open one up myself. Owning a bookstore was definitely a lifelong dream of mine. And the bookstore that closed was in Bay Plaza, and it really inspired me to pursue the dream. So instead of complaining like, oh, we don't have a bookstore, I decided to do something about it. And then I started to look at the rent and saw that I would not be able to afford brick and mortar here in the Bronx, because as you know, the Bronx is changing and there's, gentrification and all these other challenges that are happening in our community. So a friend showed me a bookmobile from Delaware, and that was the inspiration I needed to pursue my dream of and starting a bookmobile instead of a brick and mortar. You can go to the next slide. Bronx Bound Books started off as a dream of mine, and it became something more than I expected it to be. We do operate as a bookstore. We do sell books, but our major stakeholders are the schools. So we are a DOE vendor. We work with private schools as well as charter schools to make book ownership affordable and accessible to the students. So we offer book bus rentals. If a school rents the bus, each student is allowed to take a free book from our bookmobile. And the goal is for them to leave with 3 books, a book that they know they're going to love, a book that they're curious about, and a book that they may not have picked up if they were spending their own money on it. So here's an opportunity for them to fall in love with a new genre or introduce a new subject or author with the hopes that they expand their love for reading. We've now started to invite authors to schools. This Friday, actually, we have one of our biggest author events, 350 books to each student in one school. And the author will be having 2 assemblies addressing everyone. And then the following week, we have another author coming to a school where they're doing parent engagement around literacy and teaching the parents how to engage with their children at home, reading them books and things like that. So we've expanded from, I feel like we're more than just a bookstore. We are actually a community hub of information and resources for the entire community. What I love most is meeting my future customers, because we do sell books at farmers markets, but meeting them at their school is the best place to gain trust and to start our relationship, because the school is a trusted environment. So let's say Montefiore or the Jerome Gunhill bid rents the bus. They see us on the street, they already know what to expect. They know that it's a safe place. The bus is built for them, and there's something inside there for them, like books and other stories. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to, present Bronx Bound Books and all the work that we're doing for our community. And this year we started a fundraiser. We're looking to actually move into a brick and mortar to expand our mission. Our brick and mortar will operate similar to how the buses ran, where a school can rent the bookstore for the day, and students can come by and take as many books as they want home with them, because our goal is to get as many books in the home as possible.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Latanya, do you also sell books through your website?
Yes, we do. We do sell books through Bookshop. We also do corporate events. One of our corporate events has been with Pepsi Company. We have a few events happening with them this year. We've already done one, and we're also bringing them into a school with us, because they have a STEM program. So we're picking books, STEM-related books with Pepsi and the school that we're working with, to present a really great family event the Saturday before Mother's Day. We're working with Chase as well. So we do sell books by the bulk. We also host author events on Saturdays as well. So let's say we have an author coming by, we can do a story time, and they get the families get to meet an author. They get to do an art activity and things like that. So we're more than just a bookstore. We're like a place for people to come and enjoy anything related to books.
Latanya, like when I found, when I learned of your business, right? I thought immediately, wow, this just makes so much sense, right? Like there is a hole, right? In the Bronx, right, when it comes to bookstores, like you said, the last one being Barnes and Noble, I guess it was, that closed down at Bay Plaza, right? Which I used to go to religiously on the weekends with my kids. They would go to the kids section, find the book, and I would go to the self-help section. Get my hot cocoa and spend a lot of time there. So, it just so much, I said, this is such a unique idea, right?
Thank you.
But it's so like, why didn't somebody think of this sooner, right? It just seems like, oh my God, like the obvious, right? Like such an obvious thing to do. Has there been anybody since Latanya, you started Bronx Bound Books that is similar, as sort of simulated your idea?
With the bookmobile, not
Yeah.
quite. With the fact that, of course, we're accessible, we're the bookstore that comes to you. But what sets us apart is the fact that we can get a large volume of books into the hands of our students and in our borough.
Right. So
That
your
Mhm.
Bronx Bound Books, all right? Bronx Bound Books sounds like you're just located, you're just doing this wonderful work, by the way, right? Much needed, wonderful work in the Bronx. Are you also thinking of expanding and besides your, the brick and mortar store, also going into other boroughs where there might be a lack, bookstores?
So we've been getting requests to get into Westchester and Mount Vernon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's been a really great request. Queens also, specifically Jamaica.
Right.
Some places in Red Hook as well. Those places that are, Red Hook is kind of hard to access. So coming there, but I'm still like a 1.5%. So I, but so much. But to go back a little bit, we did actually rent a kiosk for October and November at the mall at Bay Plaza. And the day we were sold out of books.
That same day you were sold out.
Yeah, we would show books that we had in stock, and when people would come from social media, the books were sold already.
Wow.
So there is a great desire to have another bookstore in our borough, and this is why we're expanding in this way.
Your success comes, I'm sure, you know, with some obstacles, right, or some hurdles. Can you talk about what some of those are?
Our catalytic converter was stolen one time.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, so it was the first weekend where the bus was painted, and it was parked near a friend's house because we had an event to go to. We worked with Bronx Excellence Charter School, and we were booked all June at 5 of their school locations. And so it was a little easier for her to park the car near her house so we can just go to the events without coming to where I park it. And our catalytic was stolen.
Oh, sorry.
So many different, the weather.
Weather.
It was, we sell books at farmers markets. So for some reason last year, almost every Sunday it rained. You know, their challenges, you know, like any other business, I believe. But you know, it's worth it, I think, overcoming those things and learning these lessons so they won't happen again. I'll never park the car on the street again.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do have.
Yeah, go ahead.
So happy to see you. So happy to even know you. So happy to have you in our borough. I will be reaching out to you because Juneteenth is just around the corner. So keep that on your calendar. It won't be on Father's Day. It'll be the Saturday before the Father's Day, but don't worry, I'll send you all that information. I do have a question, being that it's Women's History Month, and to piggyback on Christine's question, but mine is it deviates a bit in the sense, you know, being a woman in business, you know, I can only imagine that there were, you know, those obstacles, right? But then also being a woman in business, did you feel supported by the borough, by your community? And, you know, Christine did, you know, allude or mention, you know, do you know of any other potential mobile, you know, bookstores or whatnot? You know, I think that working in community is super important, and understanding that we have to, like this is, you said there's a large, huge desire for more books and literacy and encouraging all of that in the borough. How did you navigate that? Did you find that you had the resources available to you? Did you find the doors opened quickly? Did you, you know, hit any kind of roadblocks? Those kinds of things.
So a little bit about me. I'm a teaching artist. I've also hosted open mics and writing workshops for the community since 2008. And so my following kind of followed me every time I made a different turn, and grew with me. So I've been fortunate to have already done a lot of work in the community. The schools being our #1 customer, I have a lot of friends who are educators, principals, school founders, and things like that. So as far as navigating like the DOE and things like that, I did have some help and some guidance. As far as community support, when we were having an issue with our conversion, my friend was like, just talk about it on your social media. And someone on my social media was able to get me an interview with New York One, right? So everyone is, you know, we're raising money, we're selling books. I was at farmers market selling books for $1, trying to raise money to convert the bus. And people will see me every week, and I'm like, well, next week the bus is going to be ready. But the company was giving me a hard time. I was able to speak to my community about it, and I was able to get a New York One interview so that I can address everyone at the same time, because people were expecting this bus, right? People were, spending money and hoping that this bus would come. So on that sense, I did have a lot of support. There's also the comparison where they feel like, oh, we already have one, right? This, or someone similar to that is already doing something. But, the Bronx wants more, needs more, and deserves more, right? So there shouldn't be just one organization that we rely on providing services similar to mine, because we all have something different to offer. So why not have a variety? And on another note, I do get a lot of national support. I am grateful for it. I've been on New York One, all the local TV channels. Recently, I was on Today Show. FYI, Al Roker is amazing. He's a great person. I've been on Good Morning America, the Drew Barrymore show, right? But that's national, and I'm working right now to get more local support, local recognition. So when we do have authors come by, that we have a packed house. Because the people in our community know about it. So that's where I'm working on now, to get that local support, so that all these events that are happening for the community, everyone gets to come out and enjoy them.
Wow.
Well, you definitely have our support.
Thank you.
Everybody. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I know. Just to piggyback on, you mentioned the DOE. What is your relationship as far as like District 75 and kids that are homeschooled? Would you ever, because I have a child that's homeschooled, and for someone who's on the spectrum, I would love for him to be a part of a program like that to increase the reading, right? I mean, and that's in the neighborhoods that you mentioned. Kids who of color are suffering within the comprehension and the reading spectrum. I would love to see you on Morris Park to take up one of these vacancies. So
Hello, let me in.
I've been my previous guest. Hello.
Well, if I
Now
can
I'm working hard.
This is not my accent.
I'm hearing a lot of competition.
So I guess I know maybe the answer to my next question, which is, where do you see your business in 5 years?
In 5 years, I envision a program where, because we're rolling different things out to the schools, right? So first it was the partnerships where we bring the bus to the schools and we get the books into the kids' hand. Now we're rolling out the author visits, right? Who's the person writing these books that the kids are reading, right? So we're rolling that out. More book fairs. We've done a few book fairs, BIPOC book fairs, curated books selected by me, to ensure that there's a vast, diverse book selection at these book fairs. Of course, in 5 years, the brick and mortar. Having it, as a hub and things like that. And I also would like to work with families with an incarcerated parent to create a program that connects the child and the parent and literacy all together, with the hopes that they create a bond that happens after the parent is home, so they can insert themselves into the family unit. And there's more information, but that's one of the things we're rolling out probably in another year or two. So like I have all this to offer, right? But I'm very strategic in how I'm rolling them out, because too much is too much, and resources and manpower and things like that. So we've perfected the book bus rental experience. Now we're expanding into the author events and then moving forward with other things.
Are you familiar with Children of Promise?
No.
Okay, so that's an organization that is in line with exactly what you just mentioned, children with incarcerated parents. So I can share that information with you and connect you with that organization. So
Awesome.
Definitely, because I'm an adult of two incarcerated. As a child, I grew up with incarcerated both my parents, so it's something that's close to my heart.
Latanya, what advice would you offer, a future entrepreneur?
Start,
No?
you know, start these ideas live in your head, and I believe you receive them for a reason. So taking the first step, I think that it sounds cliche, but your first step that seems to be the
What happened?
Can't
don't
hear
want.
you.
I'm sorry,
Say
the
that
phone
again.
was
Say that again.
you don't
You
want
said
to
your
live with
first step.
to start.
Mhm.
You don't want to live with regrets. You know, there's
Mhm.
plenty of people who walk this earth and leave this earth without pursuing, you know, their dreams. And I think it's important to at least try.
That's wonderful.
I think Diana was first and then Herbert with questions.
Hi, Latanya.
Hello.
So I work in the book publishing field, so I'm very interested, like for the financial end of things. You work with grants and donations, and then do the schools pay you to come to give out the books? And
Yeah.
also, do you have relationships with any of the book publishers
Mhm.
directly?
So especially after our my visit with Jenna Hager, the publishers have been reaching out. I work with Penguin. So like I said, we're doing a author visit on Friday. So we were able to sell 350 copies of the books to the schools, and you know, at a discount rate because they bought so much. And then we have an author coming by. So we work with Source Books as well. You know, all the top fives.
And how far in advance do you schedule the school visits? Like if we were interested in having you come to our local school, how far in advance
weeks.
do we have? 2 weeks?
3 weeks in advance.
3 weeks. Okay.
3 weeks in advance.
Thank you. So I know from publishing, it's not easy. You know, I really have
No.
to hand it to you. Because
Thank
in publishing, most people work on pretty small margin.
So
But thank
yeah,
you,
so
thank you.
the schools do rent the bus. So we get books from publishers, we get books from the community. We sort them and they're, you know, in an impeccable shape, because even if a kid is getting, or an adult is getting a book from us for free, we want you to feel proud to walk away with that book.
Yeah, our local elementary school has bins out on the sidewalk where they put books they're no longer using, you know, free to the community, but they're not brand new books. So yeah, I understand that. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else? You said
Herbert
Herbert?
had a question in the chat.
Mr. Nora, Herbert, can you hear us?
I just wanted to ask if Bronx Bound Books ever partners with the New York Public Library and its Bookmobile.
No, but we've been part of the same event when we were at the Botanical Gardens. We were both there at the same time. So we've been, you know, shadowing each other, but never a direct collaboration. But I'm sure that'll work soon.
Thank
I
you.
have one final question. Of the 12 community boards in our borough, are you missing, have you reached each and every one of them? Are like, meaning not just the boards, but the districts, and maybe the districts and the boards, anything we can do to be a conduit to get to the entire borough of the Bronx, because you know you are the Bronx Bound Books, and you know you're about to be you're about to be more than the Bronx, but anything we can do.
Absolutely. If you know a school, you know, we would love to visit them. Other bids, if you have relationships with other bids. I actually emailed all the bids in the Bronx at one point, and Jerome Gunhill bid was the first one to respond. And actually, we've gained a really strong partnership and relationship with the Gunhill bid, the Jerome Gunhill bid, and Montefiore. So
How about Fordham?
Fordham, they never responded.
I can help you with that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think working with the bids, you know, really has it's been something that I've known for quite some time, and I know how important it would be to collaborate, and especially for community engagement and having something vibrant and something for the community that is really, you know, I think it's a reasonable price for their budget as well, and something valuable for their community. I think at least.
What, Amelia?
Oh, someone asked me about homeschool parents.
Yes,
Homeschool
yes.
families. I'm so sorry. So we don't have a direct relationship with a group of homeschool parents, but a few of our parents are homeschool parents. So I've worked with individual homeschool families, especially when I was at the Botanical Gardens. And District 75, I think I have an event with them. I have to look at my calendar, but I know they reached out. I can't remember, but it's on the agenda somewhere.
I will contact you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amelia.
Hey, Natalia, just wanted to say how, like, it's super inspiring what you do. And I particularly like how you sort of are unafraid to speak about, like, these topics that are sometimes very hard to speak of in terms of families and children that, you know, they did not make the choice of you know, having to deal with the social reality of having incarcerated parents and all this, and how important it is to uplift them and to give them like the positive energy and outlet and all that. I have a question for you, and then I have like an opportunity. Let me go the other way around, like, actually. So on April 21st, Morris Park Big is organizing at Loreto Park our second annual Earth Day event. So I would like to formally invite you, if you are interested and available, between noon and 2 o'clock. And of course you can follow up online, but if you could make like a little selection of kind of environmental conservation, green things, plants, whatever you want, like environment themed selection that you would curate, we would love to have you there, and we can connect further on. And also everybody, of course, CB11, of course, please be there. We will have some artists doing arts and crafts for the children. We will have a local dentist office giving out information about, you know, wellness and health and So anyways, this is an event we're doing. And second,
April
so
21st?
it's Sunday, April 21st. Let's hope the weather will be with us. Speaking about the weather, noon to 2 o'clock, and everything will be free for the community, and we just hope it will be a nice little event. And Natanya, I will ask you a question that is a little bit hard to ask, but honestly, I'm curious because in a way you're kind of like a messenger, and you see like all over the Bronx kind of how the mood is and all that. So I mean, you know, from national news, there are all these challenges to some books becoming forbidden books or whatever. So did you find, like, how to say, is it like, did you find, you know, certain type of books to become more like difficult, or do you find yourself sort of questioned, or you see what I'm saying? I don't know. You see what I'm saying. So tell me what you think.
I do. I remember we were at a private school, and it was during the day, it was a book fair, and then in the evening, the following day. So just in case there were two different parents picking up the child. So the dad picked up a book on gender identity, and it was a kid's book. And then the mom came the next day and said, "We don't do genders in our house," and she wanted her money back. And the director was like, "You can't have your money back." You know, I felt supported, you know, by the director of the organization. She said, I said, "You can switch it, but you can't have your money back." So she picked something else. You know, being Afro-Latina, being, you know, having books of like people of color, but I prioritize books that have people on them, because there's so many books written about animals. There are more books written about animals than there are of people of color. So you will find a book on a bunny here and there, but when you see the faces that look out at you, they look like our community. So that's one of the things that I prioritize, as well as being a business owner and someone who wants to set the mood and feeling confident in setting the mood. when I went to a bookstore as a kid, I didn't see books with people that look like me.
Right.
And I've seen people older than me cry because the images on the covers were so moving to them. And I hear it all the time. We didn't have books like this as a kid. I get emails, countless emails of people, someone in their 80s saying, I saw you on TV, and then the books that you had, I couldn't read when I was, growing up. They said
Wow.
Black people couldn't read. I could show you the email. And she said, I don't read very fast, but I would definitely have loved to see the books that you showed on the TV when I saw you. So, there's a good and the bad, and there's enough people tipping the scale in the positive direction and know that I'm, going on a good path.
Very good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There are a lot of people who have these ridiculous misconceptions about our communities. So, to have someone like you, Latanya, who is spearheading what that change looks like and tackling those barriers and tackling those mindsets is very phenomenal. And I think we all appreciate that 100%.
We absolutely. Any more questions? One last question, Latanya.
Yep.
What do you want people to know about you as a person? We know a lot now. We've learned a lot about your business, but what do you want people to know about you?
Okay. Well, I'm a mom. I have 3 children, a 19-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old, and a 7-year-old at the end of this month. I'm a mom who still decided to pursue her dreams of owning a bookstore and providing, an amazing service to her community. And I'm just a person that wants to make the world a better place and, and instill those same values into my children. And, hopefully, the world would be, better than better than I came into it when I left. So.
Well, I think you've already done that with this wonderful work.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule.
Oh my
right?
God.
And we hope to see and partner with you again
Yes.
on other endeavors. You have our full support. Please reach out to us at any time to let us know how we can help.
I'm emailing her tomorrow.
Volunteers will be gratefully appreciated.
I'm sure you're going to be getting a lot of calls about, block parties. And
I got some retirees that can get to work with you.
Please, we do have a monthly book donation drive, and people come in with books and we need help sorting them, and it's a really simple sorting process. We do have an art center that we work out of in the South Bronx. So
Tanya, I'm not sure if you saw what Herbert posted in the chat. Links to grants.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Give you a chance to get those links.
I think she's using her phone.
Or screenshot.
Oh, yeah,
She
screenshot.
sure did.
You got it, Latanya? Awesome.
Got it. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Yeah, all right, our next guest had to go because
She had to close up.
she has actually a client. And so I'm going to introduce her anyway, and hopefully, before, we end the meeting, she can come back, but if she doesn't, I still want to give her props. And I recently met her just by coincidence, right? We were coming here one day and I was like, wait a minute, what is this place right next door to the office? And so there's a shop that opened up, and the shop's name is called, where is it?
Sacred Family Studio.
Sacred Family Studios, right? And it's a tattoo shop and they do piercings.
I just saw that when I drove there. It was like tattoo.
And I went inside because I had, right, I had an earlobe torn, and so I had to have it repaired. I did get it repaired, but then I had to get the piercing. So I was thinking about, going to the jewelry shop and getting it done. And then I was there and I was like, wait a minute, Cynthia, let me just go. And I asked, and she was like, yeah, I'll do it right now. And I was like, wait, what, right now? She's like, yeah. And I met this wonderful woman, and her name, right, is Saki Blanco. right? I wish I had this name. I'm like, I don't know how much better a name is. Right? So cool. And she is a co-founder and owner of Sacred Family Studio. And I was hoping that she could stay around, but she's being the professional that she is, she had obviously an appointment with someone. She has a client, so she's going to attend to that first, right? So hopefully she'll come back, but if not, just move on. So what's next on our agenda? Let's see. Gallery session. Do we have anyone in the gallery that wants to speak? Wait a minute. No way. No way. Everybody say hello to Diana.
Hi, Diane.
Diana is.
Hi, everyone.
also- I have to say, Diana, thank you for, also being here tonight and always lending a hand where you can and, connecting people to other resources as well. And you're someone that I also, look up to. So happy Women's History Month, Diana.
All right, so I have a wonderful announcement. Nilka Martel, who is someone that you all should know, if you don't know her, you could
I-
invite her to the meeting. She does Loving the Bronx, and she's one of the leaders of the Cap the Cross Bronx Expressway movement. She called me one day and she said, Diana, you have to apply. You have to apply for this grant. So I did, even though it was only like, I had to do it all in a couple of days. The Historic District Council recognizes infrastructure throughout New York City that needs to be preserved. And I nominated the Allerton Coops. And just last week, we were notified that the Allerton Coops is one of the 6
Oh, wow.
institutions that's been chosen for 2024 for this program that the Historic District Council runs. And the applications have to come from a community organization, and they're selected on the basis of the architecture and historic merit of the area, the level of threat, the strength and willingness of local advocates, and potential for HDC's preservation support to be meaningful. And their mission statement is, neighborhoods throughout New York are fighting an unseen struggle to determine their own futures. By bringing these locally driven neighborhood preservation efforts into the spotlight, HDC hopes to focus New Yorkers' attention on the very real threats that historic communities throughout the city are facing from indiscriminate and inappropriate development. As the first list of its kind in New York, the 6 to Celebrate helps raise awareness of local efforts to save neighborhoods on a citywide level. So I don't know if everybody knows the Allerton Coops. It's right on Bronx Park East.
We sure do.
Just north of Allerton. It runs for a few blocks, and then on the other side, it's bounded by Zimmerman Playground. And Janice Walcott, community board member, is a tenant leader there. She's lived there since the 1970s. So she's working on this with me, and we're really looking forward to being one of the 6.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it has a wonderful history. It was started, I think it was in the 1920s. It was a Jewish workers cooperative.
Yes.
But then sadly, the cooperative ran out of money and it was acquired as a private.
Just recently, Diana, there was a sort of like a
Yeah.
panel, discussion, right, where Janice was one of the guest speakers, right? And do you remember that?
Oh, it was
Uh-huh.
wonderful. It was, I think it was
was-
the Bronx Historical Society.
That's
Yes.
exactly right.
Got
Yeah.
together these old timers from
Yeah.
the Allerton Coops. Janice
Yeah.
moved there in the 1970s, and there were people there who, it was for Black History Month.
Yeah.
So it was the Black members who'd lived there, some of them since the 1950s, and it was just wonderful. But it's recorded and we can post it. We'll be posting it.
And if
It's
you
really
can find the
wonderful.
link, if you can find a link, please share it in
Yeah.
the chat.
Okay.
Because that ending really was, I
think
mean,
we got the recording from Jeremy.
did we?
Yeah.
Well, if you can quickly Google it and find it and put it in,
Oh,
share
it's
it.
from the Historical Society. I can't find it that quickly, but Jeremy does have it, and
Oh, we
we'll be
still have
putting
some-
it on
still
social
have some
media.
time. We still have
Yeah,
some
and people heard about it from like all over the country, old timers, and they just kind of showed up and took part in the
It's
session.
great.
It was wonderful.
It really was
Yeah.
wonderful.
And it
to
was like a
see.
center for organizing and labor organizing and political organizing.
And what a lot of
The
people don't know
arts,
about
very interesting.
Janice, Walcott, that she herself, is a union, was a union leader, right, with her organs. Do you remember what union she belonged to?
I don't remember. And she also led a rent strike at the Coop.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Successful
So
rent
really-
strike.
I just,
And-
all right, Christine, go ahead.
Go ahead, Malcolm.
No, I just have one request. Like, I think that the grant is pretty good and is well intentioned, but I really think that considering the history of the Allerton Coops and what it means to that part of the community, that the Allerton Coops gets tightened a lot, tight closer than what it is. I think that Janice should be in consideration for whatever work is to happen over there with that grant. Because I think that to get that grant and not to get the input and the consideration of the people that live there is it's great, but it's not going as far as it should go. So
Definitely.
I personally would love to see Janice and the other leaders of Allerton Coops included in that, and to have a sit down, some type of roundtable with them to figure out what can be done with that grant to improve that area and really shine a light on the historical significance of the Allerton Coops.
Well, the first step is that the Historic District Council comes and does a walkthrough with us. So it's going to be me and Janice, and then maybe Jeremy will come up as well.
That's good. I mean, just
Yeah.
as long
I mean,
as
I'm really just the conduit for it, because it was Nilka Martel who reached out to me, and it had to be a community organization who applied for the grant. So I'm just the vehicle through which the grant.
yeah, as long as they're included, person, that's all I care for.
Oh, definitely.
I just want to make sure they
Yeah.
get proper
Well,
representation.
I told the Historic District Council that I myself don't live in the Coops. I don't know that much about the Coops, that Janice is the person.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Janice has gotten a lot of recognition in the last couple of months, right? She deserves lots of flowers. We've discussed.
She deserves a
that.
lot more. She deserves
Yeah.
a lot more because Janice she's a rock, and I don't think that she gets a lot of the praise and recognition that she rightfully deserves. The work that she did with the Zimmerman Playgrounds, that was tooth and nail, and she deserves a lot more recognition than what she's given.
And she hasn't stopped on the Zimmerman Playground either. Because
Absolutely.
Here's the thing,
you have
like
to,
a lot of people
oversee
don't
it,
know.
see it through.
A lot of
Nothing's
people
gonna
don't
happen,
know
but
I'm
you
sorry.
keep an eye on it.
I got a cramp.
I got a cramp. Sorry, Diane, I got a cramp. What a lot of people don't know is some of that history, right? And Janice shared, some of the history and her, sort of connection to Zimmerman Park, right? What that means to her, why she has fought so hard, for Zimmerman Park to get the funding for the bathrooms, what that means to our community. So, but I'd rather her tell it at another event, right? It's really interesting stuff. I'm glad to have participated, signed on to see that, panel workshop and hear them discuss some of the history about the Coops, right? Some very important history that we should never forget. Okay. Is there anybody else in the gallery that, wants to speak? No? Okay. Anybody? No? All right, anybody? We don't have a quorum today, so
We do actually.
Oh, we do now?
I do.
Wait a minute.
At least, so there are 9 of us on the committee and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us here.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to make it, anybody have any motions they want to make?
Can we make a motion to utilize the Bronx Bound in the summer? Something.
Oh, no, we are.
Do it.
We're actually working on. We're bringing them back for Juneteenth for sure.
Right,
Oh,
that's gonna
okay.
do Community Development Committee.
Yes, sir.
But
Okay.
I think that we should definitely do a summer reading series at some point, but that takes money.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to get money from elected officials to or a grant somewhere to really get that going.
Yeah, Malcolm, that can go through the education committee because they need to show something.
Very true. Very true.
Sorry to be blunt. It's after hours. Thanks.
All right, anybody else?
May I make a request for the committee for an item maybe for the next meeting?
That's new business, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in new business.
Yeah. So, any old business? No? No. All right, now it's your turn. Business.
No, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Old business. Is the diversity training? Where are we with that?
That's a good
So-
question.
So I've reached out to one organization and a professor that I met over a DEI professor over at Lehman College. She did respond. We've been, discussing back and forth. The last correspondence was what would her fee be? So that, I can then bring it to the committee and then we can bring it to the board. There is also an organization that it's called Race Forward that I reached out to. And so we just have to complete a small minor application. I also do know that Jeremy may have mentioned, I have a vague recollection that he mentioned that it's soon going to be made the diversity training that the city provides its employees will soon be made to community boards. And so, I don't know how soon that's going to be, but it is in the works. These things,
Right.
Do take a little time, especially when we're really reaching out without funding, right? So either we're going to present it to the full board and get support, or we may have to come out of pocket, but we are working on it.
Is Race Forward the organization that you applied for that scholarship?
Okay.
He's telling me he has to go outside.
It's time. Anything else? No? Okay.
Diana's suggestion or?
All right, now we're gonna move on to new business. Diana, go ahead.
Yes, for maybe the next meeting, I would request that the DEI committee look at the draft environmental impact statement for the Bronx Metro North with a view towards equity
Yes.
throughout the district. And perhaps do exactly the same thing with the city of Yes for housing opportunity. Because actually, I think every committee on the board should be addressing both the Bronx Metro North upzoning and the city of Yes, from the purview of their own committee subject area. So I think it would be great if you did it.
I love that you brought that up, Diana.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yes, because for example, the Metro North vote has to happen this month, right? We have to give a recommendation this month. We have the public hearing on the 25th. I had suggested that we have a second leadership meeting on next Tuesday, for us to be able to go through the hearing, look at the proposals, and go, list by list as to what our recommendations are, as we should. I did this a Google form was disseminated throughout the community board to get input from the community board members as to how they thought about the project and what they think. So far we got 12 responses, which is pretty good. It's only been in circulation for about 4 or 5 days, so I think I'm gonna have Jeremy do a reminder email for people. But we really do need to get our leadership committee to that Tuesday meeting, right? if we want to do any progress on this project, right? Because I'm tired of the missed deadlines. I'm tired of the half work that we've done, right? And I really think that us being able to go to our leadership meeting, go list proposal by proposal of how on every proposal and figuring out how this will affect our community will allow us to save our face, will allow us to show that, you know, we are actually involved in the project in itself and that we're actually doing the good work to make sure that this project is reflective of what our community wants, right? And you'd be surprised that things that are on that Google form is very nuanced to say the least. I was very surprised at the responses that we got there. So, you know, I really urge and push everybody to please, you know, put some pressure on leadership committee to show up to that meeting and get quorum. If the chairs can't, you know, I guess show up, send a delegate, you know, but we need to get that done. And you know, if this meeting is being pushed as a secondary leadership meeting, understand the context behind it is that it is a meeting for the Metro North, so we can go through proposals. It's not just a meeting just for us to meet. It is for us to really do our work. But that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Malcolm. Is there anybody else?
I just think one thing that we have to discuss as DEI is what's currently happening with DEI, right? Because it's currently under attack. And that's something that we need to, there was an article that came out in Cranes about DEI. And so I think we all need to be abreast, you know, affirmative action is, you know, gone. So the next plot is to attack DEI.
Yeah, it's the backlash.
And I think, you know, for this particular community board, there was a reason why the DEI was started, and we haven't addressed that. And we need to, right? It may be an ugly conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to happen because there's no moving forward until you have that conversation.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
And Wendy's absolutely right. I went to Black Caucus conference like 3 weeks ago, and there was a section there where they spoke about the attack on DEI, right? And what we don't talk about a lot is the importance of those minority, women's, Black, you know, those diversity certifications that we have here in the city, right? And we'll talk about is that there's a lot of lawsuits going on those type of certifications, which is preventing minorities and women from being able to be prioritized in certain projects, right? A lot of these projects gets pushed towards corporations, which are white male led, right? And those projects do gentrify and they keep out, you know, those small business owners who are minority. And lots of times what happens is that, you know, these smaller businesses, smaller contractors are not able to compete on the same level as these bigger corporations because they lack the capital to do so. So these prioritizations allow it to level the playing field as to which these minorities of business, women business owners are able to now compete on a level playing field and give priority for projects which are directly affecting local communities. So we absolutely should address that conversation at DEI, and we absolutely should address the rhetoric that is constantly used, which is incorrectly used towards certain communities, to address why we had to do this in the first place. So Wendy, I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
And just to piggyback on that, let's be clear that it's the attack on a specific community, right? And it's the African American community, right? Because if you know, in the South, I think it's either Mississippi or Tennessee, they want to do away with the HSBCs, right?
Right.
So again, this is the trickle down effect. We're kind of used to that because if you can't make us pick cotton. So it's to take away our education or the source of education.
Right.
So we're quite clear on the attack. It's just now putting it out there to say we need to address that.
Absolutely.
I just want to add to that we need to hold our legislators accountable
Absolutely.
in terms of this, and we need some funding. We need funding. We need programs to reinstate this ideology. So we really need to start like, some type of campaign talking, and really reaching out to them and making sure they support us in this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The people, a lot of people like to say that we're the most uneducated, the most,
Yeah.
unread, and that's not true.
Dysfunction.
The resources just aren't there. The resources are stolen and it has to be given back. So, we definitely will have to address this very soon. So I look forward to it.
Thanks. I think it sounds like we got our agenda for next month. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anybody else? No. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to end the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second the motion. Sorry, we both. Happy
Thank
Women's
you.
History Month.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us. The time now is what, 8:34?
My mother's gonna kill me.
This moment, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
so
everybody.
much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Yes, we're getting up good.
Hold on.
No,
hold on.
we can't.
Because you have to make sure to save file. The chat?
Yeah,
Oh.
Open the rest of the meeting. Everybody, thank you.
Oh, of course. So powerful, lady. Stop.
It's gonna-
Got that.
I think.
I'm gonna kill me. I gotta make my chicken.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
We'll be alive.